Hey guys, and welcome to another Eto catch-up. I am Josh.
And I'm Will.
And today, we're sort of like starting a series now. Last week we talked about our desert island video games that we would have if we were to crash on a desert island and had all the consoles, but only 5 games. Yep. What would they be? Today, we're continuing that sort of series with comic books.
It'll be our top 5 comics from each of us, and we've also got a bunch of suggestions from you guys. So that's very exciting. But do you want to kick us off with your number 5, Joshua?
Sure. I'm going to start with The Death of Superman.
Good.
So that is... thanks. Next. No, it's from 1992, written by Dan Jurgens. And I looked up a little bit about this, which was... I thought it was super interesting. Apparently, around this time, development was beginning for a story where Clark Kent and Lois Lane were going to get married. Mm-hmm. But then that was postponed to then have that story coincide with a similar timeline or similar storyline happening on the television series Lois and Clark.
Yeah, right.
With like Dean Cain and stuff. While pitching possibilities for that, one of them jokingly suggested that they should just kill Superman. And then they did. Apparently Superman comic sales had declined, so the team felt like the character was kind of taken for granted and would temporarily kill him to sort of show that he's not invincible and to emphasize that he is actually an important character. He's not just this invincible kind of catch-all.
Yeah.
Really interesting. It covers like so many different comic series as well, and it ran for like a long time, I think.
Yeah.
Like a really long time.
For an arc that seems like it would be over fairly quickly.
Yeah.
It's like, it became a series.
Because it spanned like Action Comics and Adventures of Superman, normal Superman comics. There's like Green Lantern comics that dealt with it. And I think there was some Detective Comics and stuff thrown in there too. But I think this ran for like a year. Mm-hmm. So they were like postponing this marriage thing to coincide with the TV series.
To kill him.
I don't know whether it happened. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely isn't as popular as this story.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I have the 3 kind of collections of this. It starts with The Death of Superman, which is where Superman dies.
Yep.
So it was, battling Doomsday. Everyone was battling Doomsday. No one could fight him. And while they were in, I think it was Metropolis, they both punched each other so hard that they both died. That caused like this huge shockwave that was destroying buildings and stuff. It was such a huge punch. But yeah, they both died, and then that led into A World Without Superman, which is this huge freaking collection. And that ran for ages. I think it's almost double or triple the size of The Death of Superman. A World Without Superman is basically everyone coming to grips with that. And then The Return of Superman has like 5 different versions of Superman just appear out of nowhere, and then they have to work out which one's the real one, if any. So there's like cyborgs, and there's like
Kid.
Super Kid Boy. Yeah, weird like monster versions and stuff. It was very strange.
Yep.
But yeah, I would take that because it's just
It's dense.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There are so many comics. It's freaking huge, but it's also probably one of the biggest stories in comic books. It's like Superman doesn't die.
No.
Superheroes don't die for like a year and a half generally.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
And if you're too lazy to read that, which you shouldn't be because this is all about reading comics, you can also watch both The Death of Superman and The Return of Superman. Return of Superman is pretty rubbish, but they're both animated features from DC. Their Death of Superman is sick.
Okay,
it's
that's
very
on
good.
Netflix, isn't it?
Maybe?
Cool. I'm going to look that up while you tell us your 5th.
It's funny that you went with that for your number 5 because my number 5 is Kraven's Last Hunt, which came out in 1987. It was only 7 issues. It was by J.M. DeMatteis. Stupid name. But in a similar vein, it spanned not a year, but it spanned across Weather Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Going with that.
Nailed it.
Basically, it's all about Kraven hunting down Peter Parker, who he kills, but it's like, this came out in 1987, so he didn't. But what comes next after he's dead is really, really cool, and I don't want to say what it is, because if you want to read these, you'll get to enjoy it, but I picked this because Kraven's one of my favorite Spidey villains who he deserves far more spotlight. He's kind of, it's tricky to say, but he's kind of died off in the comics recently, quite literally. So he's not been around much, and also he's not been in a movie yet. So give me that.
That would be cool.
Especially in the potential of the next movie with Spider-Man on the run. Get Kraven in there. Come on, mate. But the art is really, really good. It's really 80s. It's on the cusp of being really good, but it's still like super dark and everything's really just like the shadows are blue, that blooming blue, which it's just very, very lovely. And it's very different from the usual Spidey arc because usually it's all about Spider-Man going through the paces, whereas this very quickly obviously focuses just on the villain because Spider-Man is out of the picture. And in a similar vein to you, it's iconic and it's just, it's one of the biggest Spidey arcs out there, but I also really, really love it. And the other thing, the very Will thing about it is that I could see all of this happening in a movie, and if I can see it happening in a movie, I probably enjoy it.
Yeah, fair enough. Sorry, I'm just really confused. I was checking Netflix. I realized I'd been logged out.
Yeah.
I logged into my mum's account, and on there are only two profiles, Rhonda and Peter, who is no one in my family, but it let me log in.
What the hell?
I'm so confused.
Who is Rhonda and Peter?
I don't know, but my account's gone, my parents' accounts are gone, my sister's account's gone. I get Rhonda and Peter, and I'm on their Netflix.
What?
I don't know what's happening.
What is that?
I'm kind of scared. I don't understand.
But also, Rhonda and Peter don't sound like adults or like our age people that have hacked your account. They sound like two elderly people.
They do.
That have Netflix.
They do.
What?
It's insane. From what I can tell, I lied and The Death of Superman is not on Netflix. I thought it was.
That's a shame.
Superman Returns is on there, though.
That's cool. That's a good one to watch.
So is Green Lantern, apparently.
Green Lantern, Black Lightning, Batman Ninja.
And something called Super Lopez?
Sure.
It literally looks like a Mexican knockoff of Superman.
It sounds like that's what it is.
It certainly does.
It certainly does.
Apparently it's an adaptation of a comic strip as well.
All right.
So it's even a comic that has ripped it off.
And it's my number 4.
Beautiful. My number 4.
Yes.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
There it is.
It's sort of manga, but kind of not. It's in manga-sized books, but it's not. This was written by Brian Lee O'Malley, released in 2005. There was 6 issues or books of it. It recently got colorized, so you can get colorized versions of it too. The OG ones that I have are all black and white. And this is pretty much the same story as the movie, if you've seen the movie, but a whole lot more. Like, so much more. There's like a bunch more Nega Scott, which is the weird sort of evil version of Scott that appears at the end.
Yeah, good.
Who sort of instantly turns good for some reason. I think in the comic, it's been a while since I read it, but I don't think he turns good like that quickly. Ramona like disappears for a while because she thinks that Scott likes someone else, and then for some reason Scott ends up living with that girl.
Sounds a lot more twisty.
I don't know what the hell happens. His roommate like kicks him out and forces him to go on like a sabbatical sort of walkabout thing in Canada.
Okay.
It's real weird. It's great. I read the whole thing driving from Sydney to Tamworth, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was freaking great. It was really, really good. And I also recommend watching the movie like around the same time as reading this too, because they coincide really, really well. I think they've done a really good job translating it to a movie.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies. But yeah, that would probably be mine, because I love that universe.
I almost put it on my list, not specifically my number 4, mainly just because I'm like, it'd be fun to color in.
It's true. If
you could bring some like colored pencils to the island and that series, it'd be really cool to just make that as vibrant as the movie. I know there is a colored version now, but
yeah,
it'd be cool to just bring the original and just make it look bright, vibrant. That'd pass some time.
Yeah, colorize it yourself, because it is very much like pretty stark black and white. I don't remember there being all that much like shading and stuff. So
yeah, I was gonna say beyond like it's beyond a manga sort of styling. It's like flat as.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's very cool. My number 4 it's a big boy, because I think my other ones are all, they're all fairly short. So I was like, I'm going to go with a chunky one for my number 4. It's Civil War from 2006.
Nice.
97 issues, if you count everything, and obviously a bunch of different writers. There's very little I need to say, but it's like, you could choose this and you get storytelling from across the Marvel universe and like different types of storytelling, because you've still got Deadpool comics running, which is stupid, but then like the Captain American stuff, American? Sure. Captain America, it's not wrong. Captain America stuff is still like heavy politics, and like there's just a lot of different versions of the Marvel universe going on at once, but they're all affecting each other, and you'll definitely be able to find a comic series you enjoy. Some of them suck.
Yes.
Some of them are very slow and are very boring, but once you've read those things, later on you're like, oh shit, that thing that thing links to that, and it's just like everything comes together. And I feel like because there's so many issues and our brains are very, very small, the more times you read it on this desert island for eternity, the more things you'll notice and the more connections you'll find between the issues. So it'd be fun. And also, I will say, the art style of Son of, in the same vein that the story is, the art style is sometimes really, really bad, but also sometimes it's obviously got like the Steve and Tony shot, like there's iconic stuff sprinkled throughout as well.
Yeah. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, but it feels like a cheat. It still counts. I said arcs or series, so
Yeah. No, I'd say that. Like that's sort of what I gleamed, which is why I went for the Death of Superman. Like that is
big boy.
So many issues, like spanning so many different comics. But
yeah,
like with Death of Superman for Civil War, you can grab an omnibus, and that's one book with the whole thing in it. Good choice, very good choice.
Yeah.
My next one is kind of 3 different things. I could give or take any of them.
Interesting.
But I just needed to mention all of them here. One of them is SpiderGwen, the better version of Spider-Verse. It's a spequel.
Spequel?
It is a spequel. It talks to you. It really talks to you.
What's going on tonight?
Sequel to Spider-Verse. The Inheritors have found their way out of decimated world that they were imprisoned on in Spider-Verse. So maybe Spider-Verse is kind of required to
maybe
to know a little bit. It was just a much better, more fun, better written.
It was more concise.
Yeah.
It was just less flowy and weird. And
so there was that, or Spider-Man Reign.
Yeah.
Just take that. I think it was only 4 issues, but like that elusive thing that we cannot track down for the freaking life of us. Did it even exist?
We never know.
Who knows? Basically, if you haven't heard us talk about it before, because surely we have, it's set 30 years in the future, in Spider-Man's future. He's retired, but he returns to fight the injustices of New York City again. JJ's in this as well. They seem to kind of be friends.
Yeah.
And they seem to also kind of be the same age.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a weird thing as well. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just go with it. So there was that. Or my third one would just be SpiderGwen.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Just SpiderGwen. Started 2015.
Yep.
But just really cool art. Interesting, like a lot of different interesting stories. I'm probably cheating there by saying I'm just going to take the whole series. But it's I love SpiderGwen. She's great.
Yep.
She's so cool.
Probably our collective favorite hero in the Marvel universe.
I would say so, yeah. And like there's some stuff, we haven't read her second volume, but there's some weird stuff where she ends up getting like a Venom symbiote attached to her, and now she just permanently has that.
Yeah, it's still going. She still just doesn't have an actual costume. It's just the symbiote.
Yeah, and we're like, we had no idea that happened, but suddenly that was just a thing that existed all the time.
Yep.
So I've been intrigued to actually read it and know what the hell is going on. Maybe I'll read it while I'm stuck on my desert island apartment.
Yeah.
Yes. Since I've got it all here, I brought the whole thing down to Melbourne.
You got all the physicals.
So that's my number 3, and there's 3 of them. There you go.
That's fine. That's a fine fun.
Just give me one of the 3.
Yeah.
How about you? Number 3.
My number 3, which it's weird that this is at number 3 because for most lists this would be probably a little bit higher, but I've gone with the other side of a DC most iconic moment in their time span, apart from one of their other issues. I've gone with The Dark Knight Returns from 1986, which was 4 issues by Frank Miller. And it's basically what happens if Batman gets old and isn't played by Ben Affleck. Basically what those movies tried to do with Batman, but didn't make him old enough and didn't make him broody enough. It's a dystopian Gotham City. He's old. It's after Jason Todd has been killed. You got your Joker and the Two-Face. The Joker stuff is insane. It's obviously this is a Batman that does not care anymore. He does some mental stuff. Still, his gun is not a gun, so, you know, at least they didn't go that far, DC movies. Two-Face is in it. There's Battle with Superman. It's dark and brooding in the way that literally every DC property has tried to do, but never done well. And there's not much else I really need to say, because if you have heard that this exists, you know that it is one of the best. There's actually also 2 animated adaptations, just like Death of Superman, and they are my top 2 favorite animated comic things from DC. So definitely check those out if you can find them.
Cool.
Just a very good Batman thing. I'm not a big fan of most of DC's heroes. Like, again, maybe we just have a type, but Batgirl is generally my favorite DC hero, alongside like Black Canary. Basically, the Birds of Prey are the best heroes in the DC. So it was just nice to read a Batman issue that I'm like, hell yeah, this is great. I will say, alongside this, you could throw in The Long Halloween, Year One. There's a few other great one-off series that are just...
Yeah, absolutely. And these are all things that I have.
Yes.
But of course... have not read.
I don't even have them, and I've read them.
I think I've got most of them here, like Year One and stuff. I think I've got them all here. I just
haven't read them.
Need to freaking read them.
You got time now?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I really freaking do. I should do that. My number 2.
Yes, your number 2
is just because I had to jam this in there after almost forgetting it last week. The Legend of Zelda manga series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unenergetic.
Only the truth.
So this is by Akira Himekawa.
Sure.
I think I nailed that. Released in 1998, originally in Japanese, obviously. There's 16 books in total, but the first one, which was Ocarina of Time, was translated to English and released in 2008, so like 10 years later. Yeah, but there's like a whole bunch, which I'll quickly skim through them, and for some of them I have some interesting little tidbits.
I'm glad you went with that. I was going to say tidbits. I'm like, that's the word.
Very good. So Ocarina of Time is the first one. It apparently has a prequel series where Link makes a mask, not Majora's Mask, but a mask for some sort of party, and Skull Kid steals it. So it's almost like the origin of Skull Kid or something, but it's apparently a prequel to Ocarina of Time, which is kind of interesting.
You're saying so many things.
Yes.
Someone's enjoying this.
Yes, hopefully. I was kind of sometimes waiting for like a response or like a yep from you, but then I'm like, he doesn't know.
No.
There's Majora's Mask, which is apparently a different story to the game, which is a strange choice.
Yeah. And
the last chapter is the artist's speculation of where Majora's Mask actually came from, which is kind of cool. There's Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, which were 2 similar but different games, and I assume they're probably similar but different comics, maybe. But they're like 2 different books. You've got Four Swords, Minish Cap. There was one called Triforce of the Gods, which freaked the hell out of me because I do not own that.
Oh.
And that is not a game. But then when I looked into it, the English adaptation is A Link to the Past, and it is an adaptation of the game A Link to the Past. And apparently it was released alongside the Game Boy Advance port. Phantom Hourglass, which is the DS game. Apparently they changed a bunch of the characters, the personalities of the characters and the events from the game.
Wow.
Which
that's a choice, yeah.
Yeah, pretty negative reactions from the game, but it was also highly acclaimed from other people.
Oh.
Apparently it's a really good manga. Who knows? Skyward Sword, apparently pretty loosely based on the game, but of course you would because no one liked that game anyway.
Yeah, screw that game.
And Twilight Princess, which I just finally got to the end of buying all of. I thought I bought all of them like years ago, but they kept releasing them like every year or two. They just kept releasing them, and I found... so I think last year I discovered issue 3 and 4 at Supernova in Melbourne.
Yes, yeah.
When you were here. And I was like, holy crap, there's 3 and 4. So I bought those. And then at some point, I found 5 and 6. And I was like, what? Why are they still coming out? How have they not finished? There's like maximum 2 books in Ocarina of Time and maybe one of the other ones. But yeah, this is like 6. It's bizarre. It's crazy. I don't know if it's still going, whether it's finally done. But anyway, I would take those and read those because I need some Zelda in my life.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my number 2.
I don't know why it was just, That's it. Yeah, it's a good choice. It's very interesting that we've taken almost a similar approach to this as gaming, where it's like, I want all the things that I already like in life to be with me in this form of entertainment.
Yes.
Which is fair. Which links straight into my number 2, which is the Darth Vader 2015 run. 25 issues from,
of course,
our favorite confusing writer, Kieron Gillen? Or Gillen?
Yes.
He pops up every 2 series of something we're reading. His name's everywhere.
He just keeps appearing.
Yeah.
Like, I see him a lot in Iron Man issues and stuff.
Yes.
He's great. He's a good one.
Yeah. But this came along with the big Marvel Star Wars relaunch, which was filling in all the gaps between Episode 4 and Empire Strikes Back. So it's all about that. And Vader, he's just ruthless. Like, if you've seen that panel of all the rebels around him, and they're like, "You're surrounded, blah blah blah," and he's like, "All I'm surrounded by is fools." And then it's like, boom. It's from that. There's just amazing stuff with Vader. But they managed to find a line where they bring in a bit more humanity to him and show you the side of Anakin that's still bubbling just underneath the surface. And the art's amazing. The writing is great. It also introduces Dr. Aphra, which is basically the only new character that's important in the new Marvel Star Wars comics, to the point where she is getting a Disney Plus show in the next 3 or 4 years. So it's pretty important reading in this. She's got 2 droids that I can never remember the names of, but if you think C-3PO and R2-D2, but they want to kill everything in sight, that's their droids, and they're great. But yeah, it's just an incredible arc, and there isn't a single dud issue. It's only 25. Any Marvel comic we mention here, and also a few of the Star Wars comics that you guys have suggested, will all be on the Marvel Unlimited app. And right now is the time to jump on that app.
That's right, because they currently have it like a bunch of series, apparently dozens, they said in the email, for free.
Yeah.
That you can, if you just download it, you can get a whole bunch of like really highly acclaimed series for free.
Yeah.
They probably also have the actual subscription for sale, because that thing is always on sale.
It is.
So jump in on that too. We haven't plugged that for a long time.
Well, no, we haven't. This is the pod to plug it in, because any Marvel, any Star Wars will definitely be on there. And there's like a scattergun approach of certain things that they've also published that you wouldn't expect. So, check it out. But yes, number 2 is Darth Vader for me. I also really enjoy the second arc, which I think was still set between 4 and 5, but it's a little bit more Vader. But this was a much stronger 25 issues from start to finish. So that's my number 2.
Cool, fair enough. And having reached number 1, I have a feeling we may have the same one.
I feel like we probably do.
Do we try and say it at the same time?
Sure.
Even though we're online and it's delayed?
It's not going to happen.
All right, you count down.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Spider-Man
Hawkeye.
Life Story? No.
Okay.
Oh.
Matt Fraction's Hawkeye was mine.
Yeah, right. Well, I still haven't finished reading that, so I went with Life Story.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think I only read like maybe 1 or 2 of the graphic novel collections or something.
Yeah, right.
But it's just so highly acclaimed, I couldn't help
Absolutely.
but have it on here. So I'll quickly go through mine and then you can go for Life Story. Yeah, so they basically say this is what Hawkeye is doing when he's not being an Avenger. That's like the start of the comic. So it apparently they just went to show like what happens when Hawkeye saves a stray dog and spills his coffee and like oversleeps and misses his divorce anniversary. Just a whole bunch of random stuff. Apparently there's a whole issue told entirely from the dog's point of view.
It's a very good issue. It's very, very funny.
And an issue completely rooted in American Sign Language.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool too. I think I do remember reading that series as well.
Yep.
And apparently those two are some of the most highly acclaimed of the whole run. I would definitely take that just because of like how huge it is, how much I already enjoyed reading what I have read of that. And especially, maybe I'll jump in and finally buy those things now, but there's just one quote in there that for some reason I have clung to for years. And it's just this dumb frame of Hawkeye after discovering that there is a boat in the attic in this house that's in a town that's like getting hit by a tsunami or something, and it's just this dumb kind of blank happy expression on his face, and he just said, "I'm great at boats."
Yes.
It's just the dumbest looking thing. I love it so much.
Yeah.
But I found out recently that you can just get the speech bubble that says, "I'm great at boats," printed on anything.
Yeah.
Just anything. Someone has taken that and put it on anything on Etsy, I think, or Redbubble or one of those things.
Yeah.
So you can buy like cushions and stickers and notepads and all these different things. Oh man, I just want to surround myself in this stuff. There's shirts. I'm going to buy a shirt. I'm great at boats.
I'm great at boats. I also like Today Sucks, I'm Going Back to Bed. That's one of my favorite ones from that arc.
Fantastic.
That series. But on top of all the stuff you've already said, it's, introduces Pizza Dog, which is very important to the Marvel Cinematic. It's not important at all. But also Kate Bishop is a very big integral part of that series.
I read some more of the synopses of the series, and people were saying that there's a section where both of them just go off and do separate things, but it doesn't hinder anything because they're such strongly written and established characters already that you don't feel like you're missing anything or whatever. It just naturally happens and it works really well. So I think it's like we've said probably again so many times before, this series, despite being one of the MCU's most hated heroes for some reason, it's one of the most highly acclaimed comic series of all time. It's in the top 10 lists of everything all the time.
It's one of the first 4 shows that Marvel wanted to make. So clearly, they're fans too.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. It's going to be the freaking...
It's the plot of a show.
The TV series.
Yeah.
When that eventually gets made.
Yeah.
All right. Final one. You already spoiled it, but...
It's already out there. It's fine. Spider-Man Life Story came out last year. 6 issues.
Very good.
It was very, very, very good. Very strange. But basically, you imagine a world where Marvel exists in real time, and each issue tracks through different eras of time, starting in the 60s, and following the usual Peter Parker teenager, but becoming an old dude. Although, even when he's old, he doesn't look that old, which was strange to me. They just kind of made him grayer.
Yeah, I think I only read up to 4.
Yeah, right.
I have 5 and 6, but I forgot to read them.
Of course. But the thing that I love the most about this, and I don't know if it surprised you, I think it might have surprised both of us, is that they not only tie in, because it is Spider-Man Life Story, so you would kind of assume that it's about the progression of time for that character, but they actually sculpt a Marvel universe around him, with Captain America being in certain wars and Tony being against it. They create a civil war through actual periods of time, and it's just very surprising and a very interesting Marvel universe that it's kind of like Old Man Logan, where I'm like, it's sad that I don't think movies will ever do that. I don't think they'll ever have the balls to do an Old Man Logan alternate universe to the MCU. So this is that. This is like, imagine if the MCU started in 1962 and has continued all the way through to now. Like, imagine the movies crafting that world. It's so good. And best thing about it is because we jump 10 years between each of them, you, on this desert island, have the freedom to imagine what happens between the issues. Because quite big waves are made that you never see the beginning of, but you kind of get the tail end of or the middle of. So you, alone on the island, can just use your imagination and just think about the middle issues, the 1.5s that happened in between the things. So I really like it. It's kind of like if the Spider-Verse was less verse and more spider.
Definitely. And from memory, from what I remember reading, it was very depressing.
It was.
It's so heavy. Like, just everyone around him is like dying or he's getting divorced or something. It's like, it's real huge. Because obviously, like, he knew a bunch of people fighting in the Civil War. A bunch of his friends died. And then because he ends up being depressed about that, gets divorced and far out. It's like
every bad thing that's ever happened to Peter Parker happens because this arc pulls upon almost everything that's ever happened to him, but specifically the sad things.
Yeah. Oh man, good choice.
It's one that if you are a Spider-Man fan, you'll enjoy because you'll see all the little bits and pieces that have been pulled upon. But if you're not a big Spider-Man fan, you'll be like, I want to read why this happened. So obviously, if you're on the desert island, you can't. But in real life, you can.
Definitely can.
So get Marvel Unlimited.
Yes, please do. Please do. It's so good. Cool. So like we did last week, we got a bunch of Patreon and also friend of the show responses for this question.
Yeah.
The top games. Some people gave us 5 or 4. Some didn't, but that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So let's just quickly go through those. Do you want to go through our first one, Will?
Absolutely. It's from Lama Loki, and they're just a big Star Wars fan, so I can absolutely appreciate
big old
this.
nerd.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hell yeah.
They made really, really good choices despite sticking to Star Wars. So up one was what I was about to say.
Up one.
What I actually mean is up first, which is also not sounding great, but The Son of Japheth was their first choice, which was from 2014, 4 issues from Jeremy Barlow. And the coolest thing is, I love this arc as well. It's using a bunch of story arcs that they didn't make in the Clone Wars series. They made them and drew them for this comic run. And they haven't then done them in this latest series of the Clone Wars as well. So it kind of means this is canon. Like, nothing has cancelled this out. There's not been any retreaded versions of it. So this kind of slots in to a period of the Clone Wars that you can read, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I hadn't heard about this.
Yeah.
Or like the fact that they did that. So that's really cool. I dig it.
Give us Amazing Spider-Man 3 in comic book form, please.
Please do.
But number 2 was Star Wars Jedi Republic Mace Windu. I think Lama Lucky said like Mace Windu comics, and there was like a one-off 2 double-sided Mace Windu comic that Dark Horse made, but there was this Mace Windu 5-issue thing that came out in 2017 from Marvel, and it's just more Clone Wars. Lama Lucky likes the Clone Wars, is what I can gather.
Sounds like it.
He spices it up with Venomverse from 2017, which was a 5-issue run. For me, I struggled with this one, but it is, if you like Venom, it's all there for you.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I didn't get around to reading this, but since it's only 5 issues, maybe I'll just jump in on today's sponsor, Marvel Unlimited, just to have a read through that.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Marvel Unlimited.
Thank you so much for all that money.
All the money you're not giving us. All of Lama Loki's options are actually on Marvel Unlimited, by the way, people.
Oh, there you go.
General Grievous was number 4 from 2005, and I've actually started reading this. This is very, very cool. The art style is great, and it's kind of just, it's making General Grievous cool, because in the movies, I mean, he's great in the Clone Wars series as well, but even there and in the movies, he's a bit dumb, so this is making him the menace. It's like Vader. The movies did their best, but really, Darth Vader does nothing, and he's, I think, only on screen for 50 minutes over the course of the trilogy, so comics and other pieces of medium just fix these Star Wars villains, because they're not actually that good. So, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like, I remember you talking about like the later, what was it, like the books and stuff and the games showing how strong Vader was.
Yes,
because they didn't get to show that in the early films because of the time period that it was. They didn't have access to that sort of special effects. But now our new mediums, medias, whatever, of like comics and books and games and animations and stuff. He's just nuts.
Yeah.
He's terrifying.
Or even in movies, at the end of Rogue One, it's like, uh-oh.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So good. Very cool. Good list. Good nerdy list.
Oh, yes.
Next up is Jade. She has written in. And she said Bone for her first one from 1991, 55 issues. I do remember, I see this like everywhere. I've never read it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see this.
It's in every school library ever.
Yeah, pretty much. She said she reads the shit out of this.
I read the shit out of that as a kid.
You did.
Sorry, I just wrote notes for myself.
There you go. Yeah, you sent me all the notes for this. So
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know you'd read Bone.
Yeah. I loved it. As a child in a library,
Fair enough.
at some point in my life, I read it a lot. Yeah, I loved it.
Cool. The next one is Order of the Stick, which is a webcomic. Satirical webcomic.
Yeah, there we go.
Of the world of tabletop RPG games.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I need to check that out. That sounds really funny. And she also said she would take all of the Star Wars comics.
Yeah.
So
Which is a good choice.
we just have all the nerds.
Yeah.
We have the best people, which are all the nerds. Good choices again.
Yeah.
Not ones that I have read, but
Yeah.
they're very intriguing. They sound great. Next up.
Grubby, who only really reads manga, which is, that's a form of comic, so we can absolutely take that.
Yeah, I had some in mind.
Yeah, that's very true. So they suggest Full Metal Alchemist, which is something neither of us, I don't think, have read.
No, I haven't. From 2001, I looked it up. There are 27 books as well, so that'll keep you busy for a while.
Yeah, they're also dense books, so...
Yeah. That's the thing with manga.
Yeah.
You get more out of it. Cool. That's the only one that Grubby suggested.
Yeah.
Ghost said, I haven't read any comic books before, but I honestly think I'd try the Spider-Man ones because I like almost all the movies.
Hell yeah. Well...
Which is a great choice. We have given you so many choices there.
Yep.
So go check them out and get Marvel Unlimited because
Marvel Unlimited, yeah.
it's got like all the freaking Spider-Man stuff you could ever want.
Oh, yes.
It's amazing. The next one is one of my mates from work. He's great, does not read comics at all, but we have this ongoing joke. He said he would read SpiderMan 5 times for his top 5. This is just basically because whenever someone asks me at work what my favorite superhero is, I always tell them Spider-Man. They're always super confused, and then I get to tell them that Spider-Man is just thousands of spiders that believe they're Peter Parker. And that confuses them even more. But me and my mate Paul, we just love talking about Spider-Man, even though he has no idea. He's never read Spider-Man or like anything to do with Spider-Man. Not that Spider-Man has comics anyway. I wish he did.
Surely.
Yeah, that was my mate Paul. Spider-Man 5 times.
Oh, dear. And up last... Sure. Is another friend of the show. It's Peter David Allison, and he's got 2 very Peter comics. No, well, it's weird because I feel like I've read at least one of these issues. They're Cerebrus. They're from
Cerebus.
Okay.
I believe.
From 1977, 300 issues, and it's just sad. It ends up being a very sad comic, but...
Yeah.
The descriptor from the wiki is that it's an anthropomorphic aardvark that takes on a number of roles throughout the series, barbarians, prime ministers, and popes among them. And Peter says if he had infinite free time, maybe he'd finally force himself to read the harder sections of Latter Days, which is the end of this arc of comics, which is about our hero dying. So it gets quite sad very quickly, but it's a very deep and interesting comic, and I'm pretty keen to look at it. But 300 issues, I see why you've not gone all the way through, Peter.
Yeah, he took a long time. Like, he bought and read so much of Cerebus, and like every week or two, he would update me on some of the things that were happening, and I remember very little of it, but it was freaking intense. It sounded like a very intense series to go through. Super dense. Just so much in it. From, I think the dude's name is Dave Sim.
Yes.
One actual interesting little fun fact about Peter and Dave Sim, funnily enough, Peter is an actor. He does a bunch of YouTube videos of him just doing monologues and stuff online. He's been doing that for a few years now. He originally started trying to do a video a day for 100 days, and then that has continued, and he's nearly, I think, at 1,000 videos online now. So he's trying to get there. But one of the ones he was reading, I think maybe something from Cerebus, or at least something that Dave Sim had written, and Dave Sim liked and commented, and it was like verified Dave Sim. He like
Insane.
found it. So that definitely excited Peter a lot as one of his sort of comic and author heroes, liking and commenting on one of his things. So freaking cool. What a cool thing to happen.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's very cool. And so all of your lists, thank you everyone for sending in suggestions. Are they suggestions? They're your thoughts. It's always appreciated, and it makes our podcast a little bit longer, which is also really good. Up next will be, I don't know, what are we doing next? Music? Let's do music.
All right, so music up next. So this is albums. So individual singular albums.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
So let us know. This is a little bit less nerdy than we're used to.
Yeah.
But I guess you could go nerdy if you want to do like soundtracks to things.
Yeah, well.
Or whatever. Hit us up. We'll be hitting up our socials to get a response from everybody about that.
Yeah.
There you go. Until next week, everybody. Thank you for listening. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.